A few weeks ago, we worked on a project together to create a painted abstract art piece. And one of you commented that it would be great to see what happens when you're dealing with matte paint to shine it up a little bit. And that's exactly what we're going to do this week on Mixed Media Masters. Hello makers, and welcome to the studio. If it's your first time here, then good to have you here. We'd love to have you come back and visit us on a regular basis. Please feel free to hit that subscribe button down below and we'll get things started. Now, as promised, and this is going to be a relatively short lesson this week, but we worked on a piece a couple weeks ago, which is this piece here. It was an abstract art where we were layering some things and doing some paint blending. But I mentioned during the course of the lesson that it might be the kind of thing that later on I want to put a little bit of a gloss coat on to really pop the colors a little bit and shine it up a little bit. Because when you're working with matte paint, well, not surprisingly, what you get is a matte finish. And so what I want to share with you is a couple different products that we can work with, and we'll try a couple different things and see what we can do. We'll experiment on this piece since it's not going to be going into the gallery. And to start with, I'm going to be looking at three different products. I'm going to be working with a Mod Podge. If you're familiar with Mod Podge, oftentimes used in collage work as a kind of an overlaying glue to hold things down. And this is a super gloss Brilliant Extreme. So we'll give that a try. I'm also going to be working with something a little bit similar in a lot of ways. This is a gloss gel medium. Usually this is the kind of thing you would mix with paint to make your paint glossier, but we're going to see what happens if we try this as an overcoat. And then finally we have some Liquitex satin varnish. So this is not going to be super gloss, but it is going to be a varnish of sorts that we can work with. And also there is from Golden, there's a satin archival varnish. Now, I have used this, but this is the kind of thing, to be totally honest, you want to use outside in a well-ventilated space because this stuff, not so good to breathe in. And we're going to work with the brush stuff today as opposed to the spray stuff. The spray stuff goes on irregularly and sometimes you actually need to hit it with a brush later. But this is more for coating things to make them last a long time, especially withstanding UV light in the future. So not a bad product, but probably overkill for what we want to do today. So to get things started, I'm going to, let's start with some satin varnish. We'll start with the satin varnish and then we'll work our way up towards a glossier. I'm going to give this a little swirl. And I'm going to use one of my fancy schmancy ramekins here to put this in so we have something to work with. There we go. And what I've decided to do is I'm going to work at the upper left-hand quadrant. I'm going to do this in quadrants. I already tried an experiment down here with the spray varnish, so it's a little shiny. And let's see if we can get something up here in the top that's going to take on kind of more of a satin. We're not going super gloss, but it's going to look a little wetter. And overall, the objective here is to create something that's going to pop a little bit better. And as you can see, and it's really hard, I know, to see on the camera, but when we're working with any kind of a matte finish, it is kind of dull. It is dull. It doesn't really bounce light to any great degree. And already by putting this coating on, I can see that it's really changing how the colors come through. Hopefully this is showing up on the camera. I'm sure I'll find out later or not. But we want to just create something that's going to gloss this up a little bit. Not necessarily to make it shiny, although that's going to be a byproduct, but more to create an opportunity for us to be able to see the real colors we're putting down. It just brings a lot more definition to this content as we bring it forward. Okay, so I'll just use that little square there, and that will be to test out what's going on with a satin coating. Right, I'm going to clean my brush off here, and let's get this so we can work on our next. And I'm going to go and I'm going to work directly here with the, this is the Artist Loft Gloss Gel Medium. Now, as I mentioned, usually when you have a medium is used for mixing with your actual paint. So if I had some sort of a matte paint and I wanted to shine it up before I painted with it, I would mix it with the medium and that would happen. But let's see what happens if we apply it in here in its native state. And as you can see, this is more of a paste. It's a lot thicker than the medium that we just used, the varnish that we just used. And so I'm going to try to be somewhat sparing on this and make sure I distribute it. Now again, it's coming across, it almost looks like I'm using, you know, some sort of white glue on the surface, which I suppose is not too far from the truth because it is a lot thicker. But when this dries, it will dry as a clear coat. I'm going to do my best to spread it out so I don't have anything that's too globby. And again, I can already see as I distribute this what's happening. Now it's not as apparent with the satin finish because the satin finish goes on clear. This is still coming in a little bit milky, so as this thing dries, we'll get a better sense of how well it's really shining things up for us. So I'm going to smooth all this out. And again, I'm just going to kind of have a section here that we're going to experiment with a little bit. All right, and so we'll give that some time to dry and see how that shines up as well. And likewise, let me clean my brush again here. Let's not cross-contaminate anything, although these are going to probably be very similar. And I want to work now with the Mod Podge. And the Mod Podge is, by the way, if you're familiar with Mod Podge, there are a whole bunch of different variations on a theme here. Some great stuff. So super gloss is our goal right now. Just get the brush wiped off here. And let me open this up. And again, if your stuff has been sitting around for a while, it's always a good idea to do what you can to get it opened up, stir it up a little bit. There we go. Now this is looks more like kind of a translucent gel than what we were just working with the Artist Loft content. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to do a similar thing. And now this is almost like it almost looks like if you've ever worked with rubber cement. It's almost kind of that kind of cloudy thing, but it's a similar kind of thing. Whereas we bring it across and get into the areas that have been painted, it's going to really start to draw those colors out and make this much more of an appealing piece to hang on a wall. Just easier to see overall, but you know, the reason we're creating this stuff is we want people to be able to see it, right? So yeah, let's not hide our artistic endeavors under a matte finish. I'll do half this blob of red just so we have something to compare here, and we can see what it looks like with the red popping and the red not popping so much. There we go. All right. All right. Now I can already see the differences between these three sections as they're drying. We've got going to have some very interesting things. So I'm going to give this just a few minutes to finish drying up so we can have a good comparison. And then we'll take a peek at these as closely as we can and get a sense of what the outcome is to make our decision. Talk to you in just a few.
5 minutes later.
Okay, welcome back. So this has had a chance to dry for a few minutes, and from where I'm sitting, I can definitely see the difference. I'm going to share with you kind of a kind of my point of view so we can get a sense and look at this together. Now, as we can see, the top part that we worked with, again, you're getting that sheen. That's part of what happens here. And I'm working with several lights overhead, and I've got some natural sunlight coming in today as well, so it's fairly bright in my studio. But, you know, one of the challenges, of course, when you shine something up is that it does give that opportunity for the sheen. But it also creates a protective layer. In most cases, when you're looking at something straight up and down, you can really see the demarcation here, right, between the area that was glossed and this area that was not. So it does pop the colors. It does create a protective barrier, so if this ever needed to be wiped down for some reason in the future, that would be possible as well without affecting the paint underneath it. Now over here on this side, again, if we approach it from an angle, we can really see this is the first area we worked on. Then there's a little bit of a dull matte finish, and then this is the super gloss. And again, you can see how it's really reflecting the light. But once again, when we start looking directly at it, we can start to see very clearly the demarcation between the part that has had the gloss finish put on it and this part which is still matte. You can see just the difference in colors. And as we come down, even more so with the super gloss, right, we can see this definitive line. And again, when you see how the colors pop, and this is really one of the big reasons for using this, is that red has really come out, really pronounced itself. Whereas the matte finish, well, you can see it's not quite as robust. And so that's really the foundation behind why we might want to use any of these finishes to protect our piece from UV rays and fading and anything like that, but also to make it a lot easier to see what we worked so hard on. Now, as you can see, there's no definitive right way or wrong way to do this. We're using three different. The satin is a little more subtle. The gloss, to be honest, the gloss is not that far off from the satin, but the super gloss definitely makes a difference. Overall, being able to focus on different parts of your artwork, but overall to protect it and to draw the colors out is our overall objective for using the gloss finishes. So thank you so much for the question in the comments. I really love hearing back from you folks when you have great ideas that lead to new videos like this one. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share with you today. Hope this was worthwhile and give you some insights, and let's do this again real soon. This is Spider, and I'll talk to you next time.